ASAP Rocky has been released. Okay, I guess it's about time I made an ASAP Rocky video because it was bound to come. There's a lot of things that I could say about ASAP Rocky. Um, Many of you know, or some of you know, ASAP Rocky is my absolute favorite new school rapper of this era, hands down. He's the guy, or I should say him, Yams, in that sort of that time period or whatever. They're the ones that actually got me into the new school in a way. That made me go, damn, like hip hop's still alive, like, because it was hurting out here, man. It really was. It was hurting for a fucking minute, years, in fact. And they, to me, put that jolt back into this hip hop shit and made me believe again. And I'll tell you something. Listening to Rocky in those Live Love ASAP days, it was the first time that when I went back to listen to like Mob Deep, Infamous, and Illmatic and some of the stuff that I loved, it was the first time that any of that stuff sounded dated to me, which is crazy. As in, I kind of was like, oh, like, wow, sonically, this is old, because they were so fresh with it. I mean, like Rocky and them, that it was the first time I kind of was able to, like, I guess, mentally adjust to what was going on. Because before that, there were new rappers on the scene, but nothing they did felt original or interesting, really. It all felt like bad versions of stuff I'd already heard before, or it was just like pure pop and it wasn't even like in the same ballpark of stuff I grew up on. But here comes Live Love ASAP, that's very much in the ballpark of stuff that I loved, but just updated. And it just has a way of making you go back and go, whoa, this Mob Deep shit is kind of old. And again, that stuff is classic. It's going to remain timeless. The Mob Deep stuff, the Nas's, I hope you understand where I'm coming from at this. That's how ahead of the curve these guys were. Rocky, to me, is a big reason why modern rap sounds the way it is. In the sense, like he evolved modern rap. Because rap prior to Rocky was kind of like this Lex Luger sort of sound, and it was very like poppy and weird. Like, if you look at, or I should say, listen to Live Love ASAP, which came out in 2011, like October, I think, or November 1st. I think it was Halloween or some shit. Listen to that and compare it to all the big rap singles that came out at that time, and it's night and day. Like, it is so different sonically, rhythmically. Like, there's shit going on in Live Love ASAP that now you hear it in, like, since then Metro and them picked up on it and kept it moving. Boy Wonder, Drake and them kept it moving. But like in 2011, it really was that new shit. And to me, there's Drake prior to Rocky and there's Drake after Rocky. I've been on record telling you that I like Drake. To me, Drake before Rocky came into existence was pretty whack. I have a good friend of mine, and we've had this conversation a lot. I used to hate Drake a lot. I mean, his music. I don't hate him as a person. I don't know him, but I thought his music was horrible for the most part. Because he was just kind of figuring it out, and I didn't care for it. There was potential here and there, but I thought a lot of it was whack, and I thought his voice was horrible. And to me, in my honest opinion, I think Drake looked at what Rocky was doing and went, "That's it. That's the new sound, and I have to get on that." And that's where you started from the bottom and worst behavior. Drake had never made songs that hard in his life before them shits. Those songs are like massive sonic evolutions to Drake. There's nothing like it in his discography prior to that. I mean, there are things here and there that sort of hint at it a little bit. Like he had that song, "It's Been a Pleasure." I don't know if you ever remember that. T Minus did that beat and ended up going to Bun B. there are little things. Even that song that he had, "Best I Ever Had," it was a little. It was a girl song, but it had like a good sort of bounce to it. It was a little hard, but started from the bottom and worst behavior. That's him going back to that Memphis shit and being like, "Yo, I rep Memphis. This is me." And you'll notice started from the bottom reps Toronto and worst behavior reps Memphis. Isn't that interesting, huh? Because Drake, I should say, he comes from both worlds, and I think Rocky, because his production, particularly like the Pretty Flacco and stuff like that, that's like 3 6 Mafia Memphis shit. And I think Drake went, yo, like, I'm from Memphis and I ain't even celebrating it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the 3 6 shit. Nah, I gotta change that. So my point is, I'm a big Rocky fan. Rocky is one of my favorite rappers ever. Do I think that he has great bars? No. I've always said this. I think the most disappointing thing about ASAP Rocky is his lack of bars. Like saying something that really sticks to the brain, because his beats are incredible. Like super incredible, super interesting, very deep, very mystical, hard as hell. And then his voice, very kind of mystical, smooth, stylish, but hard, like grit. So he's got it. He's got the voice, he's got the look. He is a hip hop baby. His name is Rakim. You can just tell this is a dude that grew up on some real hip hop shit. But lyrically, he ain't saying much. And that has always been my disappointment with Rocky. Anyway, all that to say that I'm glad that he's been released, and I'm glad that he's able to come home. If I'm being honest, I think that Rocky could have avoided that whole situation entirely, and I do think that Rocky kind of got what was coming. Again, and I say this as a massive fan, and I love the dude's music, and I actually really like him as a person in a way. I've never met the guy, and there's a lot of things that he sort of says or does to a certain degree at his energy that kind of reminds me of me. He's just one of those rappers. Like everyone has a rapper that you kind of look at and you be like, that's kind of like me. Like, so there's things about Rocky that I'm like, wow, that's me. Like, I think that Rocky could have avoided the situation entirely. I think Rocky was out here giving beatdowns to people. This is not a new thing. ASAP Mob has been getting into fights with people from pretty much the beginning, almost. Of when they started popping. Like they were getting into fights with people, and I don't know. I think it's partly because people are super jealous of Rocky. They always have been. They've been super jealous of how the ASAP Mob came out of nowhere and stamped their name into the freaking sands of hip hop. So there's a lot of hate. Don't get it twisted. People hate Rocky for being that innovative, and not having to ask for permission to come into rap. He just kind of came in. People hate that shit. You'd be surprised at like the amount of haters that Rocky has. So I'm sure some of it is that, and some of it is just like, yo, like just because I make, music that's like about fashion and girls doesn't mean I'm not a hard nigga. And doesn't mean you can talk crazy to me. I can dress weird, but I'm still real. I get it. But you don't have to prove it to people. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these dudes out here, they're clout chasers and they're jealous. You know what I'm saying? And this is my problem. People have to understand now. Like you can't just be fighting people. Like the racists, they clout chasing. You know what I'm saying? The random people that want to, record you with a phone and say stupid shit and try and get you mad, they clout chasing. So just leave that alone. Like, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody. And I think that's kind of the rut that Rocky kind of got into. It's like he was trying to prove that, yeah, I'm still tough. You don't need to prove that shit. You know what I'm saying? A, your fans know that you are to a certain degree, but B, it doesn't even matter. If you look up Rocky's history, man, trust me, like at least from what he says and what his label is saying, that dude's been through a lot, man, a lot. Like he's realer than 99% of these guys rapping right now. Like he's, he really comes from that street element. So you ain't gotta prove nothing to nobody. Like don't fall into that trap. I do think that Rocky kind of got off a little light, but again, hey, if we can learn from this lesson, as peoples can be like, look, listen, you gotta chill, and hopefully this makes them become a better artist. Because part of the problem with Rocky's music is that he wasn't really talking about a whole lot. Like, not saying that he has to, be preachy or whatever, but it it's interesting that he's been locked up in Sweden over a situation that was probably a little racist. But Pac, or I should say, Rocky was on this like, oh, like I don't care about none of that, and while I respect the honesty of him saying, yo, I don't really care about Ferguson and all that, because a lot of these rappers will be out here lying and pretending they care when you don't give a shit, and they're just riding the Twitter trend. At least Rocky was like, nah, that's not me, and I respect the honesty, but at the same time, you got to be more woke. You know what I mean? And it's interesting that you're now getting that wake up call. They call it, man, the nigga wake up call. It comes. So hopefully this is it. And I hope that he's able to sort of learn from this whole thing, and it makes him a better human being and a better artist. Because I would hate to kind of see something worse go down. Because, you try to be that Pac, man. You try to be out here proving your manhood all the time. You're going to end up in two places, dead or in jail. So let that be a lesson. Glad to see the dude come home. The dude is, like I said, man, his first early stuff, some of the best hip hop I've ever heard. You know, and frankly, I think Live Love ASAP is the only classic project of this era, hands down. It's the only hip hop project I can think of that has what, like 11 or 12 classic songs on one project. Ain't nobody coming close to that. I mean, there are people that have great material, great bodies of work, where they have like 5, 4, 6, maybe songs that are amazing. But Rocky got like 12 of them shits on one project. That's classic. It's straight up.